we'll go ahead and come back into session at 10:35. Our discussion that we just had, the Second Amendment ordinance proposal, will be being discussed with our legal counsel as we move along. We'll probably have some discussion tomorrow. He has a lot of information to digest and research, so we'll be looking to have more discussion on that later. Our next item of business, public health contract amendment ratification, 7, 8, and 9. Director Beth Hadley.
And
Hi,
10.
Beth.
And 10.
And C10.
We added another.
Okay.
10 came up over.
Okay, and 10.
Yeah.
Got it. Morning, Beth.
So, good morning. I'm not gonna be quite as exciting as the last lunch you had in, so I'm just gonna have to try not to go to sleep.
Okay.
So I'm just presenting to you the state amendments, or the amendments to the state contract. And it seems like we go through these flurries where they come pretty quickly. So I had Amendment 7, which just outlined some of the goals for the year and outlined the initial contract award for the fiscal year 2016-2017. And then Amendment 8 added an award amount, dollar amount, to the emergency preparedness because it wasn't included in 7. I think emergency preparedness is based on federal funds, and so I think sometimes they can't really give us amount until they finish their federal budget in September. So I think that's why we got that amount there. And then 9 added $5,000 to the family planning program for a special grant award that I had written, and that's money for just updating our exam rooms, making them more team-friendly. And then Amendment 10 is an increase of $1,665 in the WIC program, which they awarded us because of that increased caseload. So all these amendments, as soon as I get them, I submitted to Jim Bailey, and he's approved all these as okay to sign.
Okay.
So, and I actually thought that I had the approval to sign these, so I did sign the first 3. So number 10 just hasn't been signed yet.
Okay. Well, we have it on tomorrow for our action.
Okay. So so the problem with some of this, sometimes I get these and then, you're not gonna be in session for a couple weeks. And I thought I had a certain signing authority that Jim approved them, that I could sign without bringing them before the commissioners ahead of you. So,
If it has to do with money specifically.
Contract, any contract.
Contractual agreements.
But if you have to sign them early, and you get daily, review, and they have to be signed early, just contact one of us, and we will ratify it as we have something in here, ratified.
Okay.
As an emergency.
okay.
Basically, if they're time sensitive, then they have to get in, and legal counsels review them. We don't like to have to ratify, but we will ratify. This is what Commissioner Kessler said, that they're time sensitive. They're not time sensitive, they go through their normal board procedure.
Most amendments, the state is aware that it takes time to get those passed, so they're not generally time sensitive. If there is something, we do ratifications.
But I think your question, Beth, if you have authority to sign them, can we just sign them and we move on? And we need to run them through a public meeting just so that it's in the record, it's part of adding to the budget or doing.
So they always
things.
need to come to.
Yeah. Yeah, but it doesn't take away from your ability to sign them. So, yep.
All right. So, any questions about the amendments, or we always like them when there are extra money coming in?
Oh, yeah,
They're
absolutely.
the good kind.
As long as there's not any liabilities to the money that comes in.
Yeah. And they're not, they're just additions to the grant.
Sometimes when I say liability, sometimes it may require you to do extra things that may be beyond your staffing the building.
Right, and obviously if it was, I would note that and say, I don't think we could do this, so, absolutely, yep.
Very good.
All right, that's all I have for you. Appreciate your support, thank you.
You betcha. Thank you, Beth.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, next item, Fair Board member reappointments.
It really was. This actually is on for action considered hot today because they have a board meeting.
Oh,
So we'd like to have a whole board.
okay. And his term is up?
Yeah, his term was up December 31st, and our bylaws say that you have a maximum of 2 terms unless you reapply, so he reapplied.
Okay. So do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint Sean McAllister to Fair Board as presented.
That as a third term.
Yes.
Third term.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to reappoint Sean McAllister to the Fair Board. This will be his third term. Any other discussion?
You have something good to say that would rationalize why we would do this?
We want Sean on the board?
Sean.
How's it?
I can say a little bit. I worked with Sean as commissioner, seen him put out the extra time and things necessarily during events and whenever there aren't events going on. He's been instrumental in working on some of the things, crossing over onto the Roundup Association and has kept that unity going. And some of the projects that he's personally taken on out there that he might have been beat up by some of the public and different things have shown that they were the right decisions that the Fair Board supported. So I think he has a lot to bring to it, continue to bring, and I think he'll be a good person for we have a Fair Board. And I'm missing something, but that's just what I.
And I concur with that.
You'll concur?
I know Sean, of course, and he's a true asset.
Yeah, he really is.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thanks,
Thank you.
Lonnie. Transit protest procedure policy and contact form. Denise?
Okay, so as you recall, we recently went through our very first ever review of our transit program. We came back with one high priority need, and that was to have in place proper procedures for complaints as they come through. So this policy is to fill that need. We actually got the main draft from ODOT. So it is approved by them. It's also been through legal counsel. We've also done a complaint form that will be distributed to our 3 providers for them to have available to the public. So those 2 items will go for you.
Okay. On mine, Denise, this is the first page. Is that?
That's a copy of the actual review page that says what we needed to have.
Okay.
And why.
Yep, then it goes from there. Well, we have that on for tomorrow's action, so. Okay. Budget officer appointment, budget calendar discussion. Ann?
So 2 things you can do today, I don't know if it's on for action tomorrow. Okay, so today's just discussion. We need to approve a budget officer for the 17-18 fiscal year, and then also approve a budget calendar that will set meeting dates and the publication requirements as well. I hope that you have a draft budget calendar in front of you that shows our meeting dates as May 2nd and 4th. That was the last, okay.
And that's due to Brad Winters' schedule. Thank you for working on that.
Yes, that we need to accommodate all kinds of things, so that works really well. I did check in with Dave Knowles this morning. In the past, we've had assessors that really wanted us to meet that May 1st assessment taxation grant deadline with our budget meetings prior to that. Department of Revenue is okay that that grant gets submitted with estimates. If there's significant changes between the estimate and what our budget approval actually is, then he can send that in. My experience has been that there's that no changes to those budgets. You're talking about the clerk's budget, the assessment the assessor's budget and some data processing that's in a few departments, so we'll cross that bridge if we need to, if we have to provide.
And thank you for that clarification, because of what this board has seen sometimes. I know we have to do it by this time, and appreciate the research on that.
I think it's very special that we're gonna do, review assumptions on a very romantic day of Valentine's Day.
Fun times.
She's just looking to sweeten the deal, so.
Exactly. Chocolate all around.
Bring chocolate.
She's assuming something on the assumptions.
Looks good.
Another couple of comments, I do have to check in with Ms. Kiono as far as maintaining her position on our budget committee. I told her I'd give her until the middle of January. Even if she does agree and can fulfill that role, this probably will be John Jones' last term. So I don't think it hurts to start recruiting now. If you have people in mind, if you can talk to people, I think we always need to get that out there that we're looking for. Be good.
No, I agree.
You have a suggestion on getting it out there?
So our policy is to advertise, because people don't always respond to that impersonal request for help. I think it does us better if we can have face-to-face conversations and kind of let people know a little bit more about what it entails. I think there's probably a fear when it just shows up in the paper, there's not a real understanding.
Well, and I think our budget committee makeup right now, while it's a good budget committee, it's kind of congregated within 20 miles, air miles of each other. So it'll be good to hopefully get some recruitment from both the south and the true north end as we move forward. So, yep.
So if you guys can start that process, and I'll hopefully, and I should know soon, if we need to start recruiting really fast.
Very good.
Okay, I have Darwin
Thank you
and
for the
Jennifer.
work on that.
Yes, appreciate that. We have Darwin and Jennifer, Commissioner Winters, to, I think, talk about nuisance ordinance update.
Yeah, was Jay going to come in also?
I'll grab him.
Grab
Okay,
him real quick.
let's do the OLCC temporary application for Hartman Mountain. Are we gonna,
I would like, if you guys don't mind, to, do consideration on that today, so we can get it in the mail to OLCC.
okay,
Trying to find it. I'll make a motion to approve the OLCC temporary permit application for our mountain store as presented.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded to approve the temporary sales license application for Hart Mountain Store as presented. Any other discussion? All in favor?
No. It's for Hart Mountain Store to provide alcoholic beverages at the Rocky Mountain Health Foundation, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. And we don't have J.
The loan default, the other addition,
Yeah,
ratification, we might have taken care of it today, Mr. Chair, if you'd like.
yeah, Ann left. She,
And left, you can see I'm the one that signed it.
right,
I was the one that was actually here whenever Am took it to Denise, and Denise says, you're here. If I'd been 2 minutes later, Commissioner Kestner could have signed it. Doesn't matter. This is, I guess, Am probably get a better overview of it, but this is just what it says there is assigning it to other ones to, this default has come along. And
yeah, I chatted with her Thursday, the state, through Liz Organ, who has a loan as well to this entity. They want to take it on behalf of all three of us, SCOED, as well as Lake County and Liz Organ.
For the sake of the audience on the camera, what this pertains to, 7 years ago, Outback Mining, or whatever it was, asked for a loan from the county, asked for a loan from SCOED, and received a loan from the state of Illinois to promote processing sunstones, wherever, and the entity has defaulted. So instead of 3 entities pursuing, these collaborative funds, whatever, we permitting the state to be the lead entity to pursue the loans repayment.
That's very well stated, exactly.
Yep.
Yep.
So our ratification and your signature, Commissioner, is through consensus or motion, but
Yeah, I'll move to ratify the Oregon Outback loan default agreement as presented.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded to ratify the Oregon Outback loan agreement as presented. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Okay, did we get Jay?
Okay, well, we can go ahead. And I'll kick it off and let the others go. There's been basically what I consider the subcommittee that's been working on our nuisance ordinance and looking at and rewriting some of the things in there. Denise, Jay, Jennifer, Darwin, myself, Greg, legal counsel, Greg, building official, and Jay all worked on this. It was actually, Jennifer disagreed with me, but I thought it was quite fun. Well, during the meeting, I said, this is fun, you said no. So we put a lot of time into this, and it wasn't just one day, it was a couple days. We're going to continue to follow up meetings on this, but we believe that we've, in draft form, have some suggestions that we'll, after legal counsel tomorrow, we're able as a subgroup to meet with legal counsel to bring to the board for the board to review before we even considered any amendments to the nuisance ordinance. That's just a quick overview, but I definitely want to give time for the 3 that are sitting in here other than myself to give any overview or any of the things that we've been working on. So that's just a quick overview.
Do you want me to go first?
Yes, now and just one other thing, this was all based around the nuisance ordinance, but we did talk about code and building and code and planning, or the planning ordinance, I guess, not code, it's ordinance. So go ahead.
Okay, so we also talked about the education piece that we have been talking about for a while. We're working on drafting up a letter that's gonna go out to our landowners for county. That's in draft form and out to work group and to legal counsel. We'll also discuss that tomorrow. Just getting out some information on, we recognize the issues. Basically, we want to make it very clear that we do recognize the issues. This is what building does, this is what planning does, this is what nuisance does. Kind of laying out all those things, giving contact information so that people, as they look at purchasing a piece of property, they contact our departments prior to that to make sure that that property fits their needs before they purchase it, those kind of things. So, yeah, it's been a good educational process. We're all still talking, so that's pretty good. Well, Darwin's sort of talking to us. Yeah, it's been good.
Well, I'd first like to thank you, Commissioner Winters, for stepping in while I couldn't be here for that day, so it's your workload. I appreciate you taking that on.
So,
Ladies first.
ladies first.
Yeah.
My
Jennifer?
comment.
I mean, I just think it's a good thing to have the document obviously reviewed by legal counsel, and I think that the code enforcement position is gonna be, I think it's gonna be a hard position and it's gonna be a lot of work, but I also think that it's gonna pay off, but it's gonna take years and years and years.
But it has to be a first step
Yep.
to start the process.
Yep, and that everybody in the county sees that it's a county-wide problem, not just the north end, not that it is a problem all over, to try to clean it up, follow the laws.
Good. Yeah, that's great. Darwin?
So, I wanna, I'm not sure how many people watched the video, but knowing that there will be minutes, I'll try to keep my my comments short and brief so that I don't get too, nailed in the public paper. But, I appreciate the committee being informed. I think as I've been tasked a couple of years back with taking this on, it's been a pretty hefty role, not in its workload, but certainly in how much negative light's been directed towards me as this position is something that I think, when we talk about personal rights, when we talk about Second Amendment rights, the majority of the people registered in this county are Republicans who would probably feel that they want their personal property rights especially, and other things that go along with that. And balancing land use and a nuisance ordinance, it can't be a tough thing, so it's part of the language that we've sent to the legal counsel now to review would be to have a little, not disclaimer, but certainly something that addresses that when land use authorizes a certain use, if it's fallen within the parameters of that permit, or if it's outright permitted, that those things may not be a nuisance and may not be addressed by a nuisance ordinance. If there's a violation, then they may be a land use ordinance violation, which is handled in a different process. But certainly, all of us know that we live in a community that we should take pride in. That comes on a personal level. We can't, I don't think we'll ever be able to truly force people into compliance, though there may be penalties. I think that those penalties, depending on the severity of them and the magnitude of them, we might find, and I hope that we find great levels of success. It may come at a cost to us that's beyond what we first envisioned, and also what we will ever be able to recoup. And going back to part of the work I did on this committee, and just on my own side note as the planner, is to do a study of the available lands in some of our areas. Christmas Valley has, to my count, and it's the best count I could come up with, was 2,626 lots. So almost 2,700 lots, 2,600 lots, call it whatever. And only 17% of those are developed with an address. And so less than 1 in 5 with an address tells me that there are many available lands, and we know this, we can ask the realtors up there, but the cost of these properties is so low that you will always get, until that cost rises to a level which, 1 in 5 is not going to rise quickly, the development of those lots. And therefore, people who don't have a lot of money may move in, and we will continue to fight this problem on and on and on until we see a community come to the level of development which you'd normally see in a community, which is upwards to probably 4 out of 5 lots, 80% developed. Lakeview would certainly be that. Other, Paisley is certainly that. Most communities are like that when you're an incorporated town. And so, dealing with the problems that we're facing up there with the people living out of campers and or at least staying in campers. I'm not saying that people are living, but people may be living out of a camper tends to be a huge problem that I don't think is going to be solved anytime in the near future, which is certainly something that, when we look at the cost of this program and any enforcement that we may be taking, it will certainly cost us a lot of money. Is my just opinion, but also study that I've done. So.
Well, Darwin says a lot there, and that burden comes on the Board of Commissioners when it comes to funding this. And the Board of Commissioners have said, and the public said, we're ready to start enforcing this. We know there's going to be exposure, there's going to be a cost. It can be large on some of the properties out there, absolutely. But that's for the board up here to make that decision on that. I'm very encouraged of the committee when we pulled together and we looked at the nuisance. We didn't look at the nuisance to have an overreach of government. We looked at the nuisance to be able to be a tool so that when we get a nuisance enforcement person on, they can go out there and work with the people to be able to get the places cleaned up. And I don't believe that we sort of worked so it wasn't overreaching that way. Whenever we get through this draft form, we get it to legal counsel. He may bring us back on some that we're a little bit more liberal on, and he might say the law is allowing you to do that. We don't know that at this time. It's been a good, it's just a work in progress. Jennifer and I, and Darwin and Denise did meet to the next level. We do have some out there that letters have went out to already on the code side. I don't know all of the nuisance side. We've already started getting letters out there. That means it's going to come to us, guys. It's going to be, we're starting the process. So very excited about it, knowing that it's going to be a lot of work. The other thing that this group hasn't been as much involved in is I'm working on looking at the reorganization side of it, of where to have nuisance land at, how we can do that, and all this. I've been working with Jay on that a little bit. So we're getting there. That would be a proposal to the board, for the board to support one way or the other, whenever I get to that side of it. That I've had enough on the negative side of people coming in and phoning and our employees being beat up in the paper and others, that I'm really looking forward to proving to the public out there that we're serious about this. And so I'm looking forward to getting that draft stuff to the board so we can act on that and get going further forward and getting that person hired in the near future.
For the audience on the camera and for you, Jim, we're actually talking about three different aspects. One is zoning as for our comprehensive use plan and addressing any violations of the zoning code. The other is the building codes, and that's pretty much dictated by the state. And the third one is nuisance, which originate from the county itself. And possibly having one person, and I'm still working on it, as Commissioner Winter said, that would address nuisance and also be the eyes and ears to bring aspects of building code violations and or zoning violations. So it's three aspects.
Well, Commissioner Winters, what I like about it is the fact that this has been going on for a long time, and we're addressing it. And will we get it right the first time? Chances are not completely, but the fact that we're addressing it, you know, and to Darwin's point, when you look at the cost benefit, or the cost, I'll use the term benefit, I think there's a huge benefit, and it might not return a positive number to us immediately, but I think long-term it will. And it's a heck of an undertaking, but it's so long overdue. And so for the group that's been working on it, Commissioner Winters for organizing it, setting it up to do it, and then pushing through those meetings together, I thank you, because
They're the ones that do the work.
yeah.
I don't want,
No, but
I'm
I'm just
a
saying.
facilitator.
But we've
They're
been
the ones that
talking
do the
about
work.
this for a long
Yeah.
time, you know, and the letter that Denise referenced, I think is a great start to get to all of our landowners information. You know, we talked about that in June when we were up in Christmas Valley. And better late than never, and we'll just continue to work at it as a team. And
Because we need the help of the community.
yes, we do.
I mean,
Absolutely.
If we can get the community self-police themselves, it makes it easier for everybody.
Mhm.
It's a matter of community pride.
Right,
Well, and I think
And that's
Darwin,
contagious.
yeah.
Darwin, the point you made about the uncertainty, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but the uncertainty as to how, or perhaps how much compliance we'll get, or we'll have to fight it. I guess literally, I think the glass is way over half full once we start to implement. I think a lot of people will do the proverbial self-policing and community pride. And I think there'll be enough members in the different communities that kind of encourage folks to get on board. So it's great start. Thank you. Okay, anything else on that? If not, we're all down to liaison updates.
So covered some there on nuisance for me, so I'll go ahead and jump on in there. I don't know if you guys seen the OTC put out sort of the following up and pushing forward on the governor's vision panel on transportation. Within that is mentioned on trying to get funding in there for Highway 97, so that was positive through the governor's vision team and OTC, Chair Vaney pushing that forward. I was not at the transportation meeting in Salem, but an executive ACT meeting last week, we had an update on it. So that's a real positive possible there. I guess I'm trying to follow up here. Do have a fair board meeting tonight, since you guys wanted to meet to the fair board or by the liaison change. There's also a planning training tonight at 6 o'clock. Is that still on?
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up, because I'd like to leave, but wanted to mention that because of the weather, especially that Ben's received, state employees haven't been at their offices as much, and so they are not gonna be able to make it down today as previously hoped and planned for. However, I'm hoping that we can get the boardroom to suffice, that we can get them a video conference in, and I've talked to Josh a little bit this morning and it's hooked up. We'll just need to tweak it, hopefully, to be able to pick up the board as they're sitting there.
So the
John
band folks,
Jennings.
the band folks aren't gonna come?
Yeah, John Jennings and Scott Eason won't be able to make it.
I was
But
just-
they're hoping to come again in February as a follow-up to whatever we're gonna do.
Yeah.
They planned way ahead not to make it on the nice night.
Well, they're pretending like they're from the valley still. I was up there all at
Yeah.
the end of the.
But they did
Yeah,
miss some
I was
work, and
there
so
this
they got behind on some things, and, apparently offices were closed a couple of days.
Yeah. Oh, I'm
So
sure
that
they got a lot of
behind.
snow, and, yeah.
So the other thing, we had a
They
mental health
apologize.
advisory board last week, and I was able to attend that as one that goes to those. Still out there that we definitely need to do, and I went online and looked at some of this. As the mental health authority, the board of commissioners, and we had Charlie come before us and tell us what our duties were. I think, and AOC has a great place on their, I don't know if it's on their website, but anyways, I ended up there, however I got there, that sort of lays out what our duties are as a mental health authority. I think that we need to make sure as a board, figure that out for sure, because the advisory committee reports to us. They are to report to us for any decisions to be made on
Implementation of the program.
yeah, for the program changes and so on. So as a mental health authority, we still have quite a bit to do. I said as a non-voting ex officio on the board, but I think that we need to either have legal counsel or somebody lay out, so we have it in writing, because it's so confusing whenever you try to think about it, you know, as your mental health authority. We're not only the mental health authority, we're the public health authority, and we're maybe some other authority we don't even know about that may be coming at us. So, all the years, I guess we need some training some way, whether it's somebody from AOC or it's somebody, or our legal counselor or something, because we're the authority, and what truly can slip between the cracks if we're not fully advised.
So on that subject, you know, about a year ago or so, somewhere in there was some kind of legislation or some kind of policy statement that came out about counties not having to be the mental health authority. And I guess I'm curious where that's at, if there's any counties that
Klamath County turned it over to the state. They're no longer the mental health authority.
okay.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly the negatives and the positives of that. I believe that we made a decision to go the way we have, and I think it's going to be a very good decision at the end of the day, after they get fully staffed and everything. right now, without getting a lot of education on, I believe that I would not support giving over to the state, that we should stay to the mental health authority so that our community has to report to us and we're able to make sure services are getting on the ground. And that's without a lot of knowledge of what would happen if we turned it over to the state and how successful Klamath is or others. I think Klamath, I don't know who else besides him. So anyways.
Either Douglas or Jackson several years ago.
Yeah, Douglas sounds right, yeah.
Not
I think.
Well,
we got
it'd be,
something.
that'd fall into that AOC discussion, because AOC could give us the pros and cons from a neutral spot as to how that's working.
So with that said, that's exactly where I went, and now it flows downhill to Denise. If you guys would like to have somebody, we request somebody come here and just sort of give us an overview. I would think somebody from AOC would be good to come here and at a work session and, sort of lay some things out.
Well, if you remember when I came on in '07, I took over mental health, and you notice that my desk was stacked 6 inches with ORAs, ORSs on. Been quite familiar with what's required. But, you know, you're also responsible, we are the ultimate responsible party for things like admin service, fire service, education service, even though they're a school district, let's say, and medical. We are the ultimate responsible party.
And so with that said, and that ties into the whole conversation here, I would like somebody from AOC to be overreaching, not overreaching, but reach out past mental health authority, public health authority, to what, as a governing body, we can end up being tasked. We found out on the fire district out there that we were the deciding. We hear rumors on the medical side, on the ambulance service and that. What is, at the end of the day, that we might end up in our laps and we
If the medical clinic disappeared, it's on our lap. If the school districts disappeared, it's on our lap.
Yeah, and so I would like to have a little education, if we could get somebody from AOC here to
Well,
give us
I'd
some.
like Denise to reach out to Mike MacArthur and just find out who would be best.
So
There might be a tag team group that comes down and schedule that for when they feel comfortable driving over the mountain.
I think that will help prepare us if anything's coming down like other
I agree.
taxing districts or nonprofits. So that's enough for me for now, until I think something else is fine.
Got a SCOED executive board meeting this Thursday. I'm gonna just conference calling on that. DD advisory next Wednesday. Equib board meeting was scheduled in Hood River. I went up and had a meeting with some folks on our workforce on Friday up in Bend. I don't know, I think it kind of helped. They changed the Equib board meeting from Hood River to Bend on the 26th of January. And if it works out, I think I'll probably go up and attend that. The upcoming, this is a ways out, but it's gonna be here before we know it. NACO Ledge Conference, I was going to go to, they wanted me to speak at the WIR meeting, and Withlick scheduled our Withlick transition meeting for the same time. They're both on both ends of the spectrum for the time frame, so I'm not going to attend either one of those because it would mean being there for a week or so, because the NACO Ledge Conference on the Hill visits, I think, start on Friday the 24th, and the WIR meeting's on the 25th, which is a Saturday. The WIFLIC meeting's scheduled for the following Thursday, March 2nd, so just so you guys are aware of that. That'll do it for now.
On your, just a question, my executive meetings for ACT, or the Committee on Transportation, we meet in July halfway. Does go ahead, do that, or did you just do?
The
conference
executive?
call? Yeah, the executive.
The way that they did it years ago when I was the chair was just an option. You could either go to Klamath Falls or you could conference in. There's a particular, and I sent Pam a note to ask her about the subject matter. There's some specific, it makes no sense to drive over there for what would probably be a half hour.
Well, I just wondered, it seems like, or we try to schedule full board meetings on the same day, that the executive board meetings where we meet in July, everybody travels halfway. Could just be,
Yeah, I can't speak for Betty, but I don't know how frequently, in current time, she really schedules those meetings as opposed to just an action
where
that needs to
we,
take place.
we have them monthly,
Right.
if not needed.
Yeah, the executive, usually something arises that needs to be addressed.
Okay.
So she calls them.
Because Betty is at the executive
Mhm.
meeting, so.
Yeah, it would make sense if we were doing it every month, like you said, just to do them together.
It's been a while since I was on the executive board, I'm okay with that. But not.
Yep.
For your awareness, I was in Christmas Valley, what was it, Saturday, to meet with Alan Parks on some veterans issues, and took the opportunity, just as getting phone calls from Carl on a regular basis, to meet with Carl. Basically told him the status of where we at as with what we went over just earlier, so bring him up to speed. Tomorrow is a Klamath Lake Forest Health Partnership meeting in Klamath. Haven't been able to attend the last couple, so I need to probably be over there tomorrow. I'm not here since we already know what's on the agenda. I'll probably come back, but it all depends on the weather. It's what we get some icy rain, so I'm still debating on that. As you know, we had the potential threat of flooding the week or so ago when we had that heavy snow and rain on it. Luckily, any flooding did not materialize. We have another weather front moving in, but it's supposed to be cold with snow and heavy rain, so I don't anticipate. But that doesn't mean we don't keep an eye on it. And of course, the biggest threat is dead man and residents along there, including the hospital.
The town does have sandbags available down by the old treatment, down by the paper field there.
Yeah, last time the team was supposed to have some sandbags already filled in preparation for that rain on snow, which luckily wasn't needed. But mine is just going to go ahead and have them filled in case. It's better to have them already staged.
It's called insurance.
Yeah, and if we don't need them, then that's a blessing. EOCCO is meeting later this month in Portland. I do not think I've been on the road so much, and I do not like Portland. Well, I like Portland, just for the audience. I just don't like the traffic and the excessive hours to get there. Going to Pendleton is bad enough as it is. As far as NACO legislative, I'm on the telecommunication committee. I went through it last year. Learned a lot. However, a lot of it may not be on-ground applicable. I can monitor that through a subcommittee or conference calls. So,
Well, and it was interesting with Congressman Walden talking about the digital world coming on, satellite world coming on, when they were talking. And I'm not versed on this, this is the part I heard out in is that the broadband world is changing with the digital satellite, and it's just amazing to listen to people. He understands about communications and stuff. It's amazing to listen to how technology is going, how fast it's going.
what we are accustomed to today would be old hat within 5 years.
Yeah, yeah, so that was, I think of all the work you're working on this, and I hear him there, and it's like, when do you do that balance? When, you know, and technology is, you know, they're talking about driverless trucks and all this stuff, and it's just, it is the Jetsons.
Well, sometimes when I do travel and use my own rig,
Okay,
But she's a good driver, better than I am.
okay. And if we don't have anything else before us, we'll adjourn our work session at 11:20.